We put so much trust in the medications we take, often without really thinking twice.
Yeah, something we take for granted.
But have you ever stopped to consider the actual journey? The whole path those drugs take before they land in your hand.
All the steps, the ingredients, where they come from, it's complex.
Exactly. The manufacturing, the different companies involved.
Yeah.
So today, we're going to dig into a technology that could, well, potentially really shore up that trust.
By making the journey clearer.
Yeah, more transparent, secure. We're talking about blockchain.
Ah, okay. Interesting application.
We want to explore how this digital ledger thing could be a really powerful tool in the pharmaceutical supply chain, which is, let's face it, pretty complex.
Definitely complex. A global network, really.
We've pulled together some fascinating material, so yeah, let's get into it.
Sounds good. It's remarkable when you actually look at the traditional pharmaceutical supply chain.
How so?
Well, it's this huge global web, right? So many stages, so many different players. And while there are regulations, definitely, the sheer complexity just naturally creates points where things could, go wrong. Vulnerabilities.
Like weak spots in the chain.
Exactly. Think about it. Raw materials might start in one country, the active ingredient made somewhere else entirely.
Right.
Formulation, packaging in another place, and then it gets shipped all over the world.
So every time it changes hands.
Each handoff is a potential point where something could be compromised or information could get lost.
Okay, so when we talk about vulnerabilities, what are the actual, real-world impacts? It's not like everything is failing now, but what are these potential cracks?
Well, one area, and this is maybe less obvious, is variability, how the drug actually performs.
Performs? You mean like how effective it is?
Yes, precisely. Take something like a pill or a capsule. How quickly that drug substance dissolves inside you, the dissolution rate, that's super critical.
Okay.
If something happens earlier in the chain that affects that dissolution, maybe how it was processed or stored, it can change how much drug gets absorbed, how fast it starts working, how strong the effect is, how long it lasts, basically the overall bioavailability.
Wow. So you can have two pills, technically the same drug, but one might not work quite as well because of something way back in the supply chain.
It's a possibility, yes. Small variations can sometimes have noticeable effects.
And then there's the big one, right? The sort of more alarming possibility, counterfeit drugs.
Ooh.
Or maybe ingredients that aren't up to scratch.
That's the more serious concern, definitely. The traditional systems struggle sometimes because there isn't always perfect end-to-end visibility.
Meaning it's hard to track.
It can be really difficult to absolutely 100% verify the authenticity and quality of every single component as it moves through this long, often quite opaque chain.
Right.
And that lack of transparency, unfortunately, opens doors for people who want to introduce fake or substandard stuff.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Let's bring in blockchain. For someone maybe not super techie, what's the basic idea? How does it help with these problems?
Right. So imagine a shared notebook or a ledger, but instead of one person holding it, copies are spread out across lots and lots of computers in a network.
Okay, distributed copies.
Exactly. And when you want to add something new to that notebook, say, details about a batch of ingredients being shipped, that new entry gets checked and verified by the network.
Verified by others on the network.
And once it's verified and added, it becomes a permanent part of the record. You can't go back and secretly change it. It's immutable.
Immutable. Okay. Can't be changed.
That's the core. A decentralized, immutable, and often transparent shared record book. That's blockchain in a nutshell.
Got it. So not just one company controlling the info, it's spread out, locked down. How does that apply specifically to, say, making and shipping drugs?
Well, you can record basically every significant step in that drug's life.
Like what?
From sourcing the raw materials through every manufacturing stage, quality checks, packaging, distribution. Each event can be logged as a secure transaction on this blockchain.
With a timestamp.
With a timestamp, yeah. So think about a batch of, the main active ingredient leaving the factory. That event, plus details like the batch number, how much there is, the quality test results, all logged.
And because each new entry, each block, is linked to the one before it.
Right. It creates this chain. A complete verifiable history.
A literal chain of data.
Yeah.
So if I had a box of pills and there was some question about it, I could theoretically trace its entire history back.
That's the goal, enhanced traceability. And that traceability is huge for security.
How so? Because it's hard to fake.
Exactly. Because those records are basically tamper-proof, it becomes incredibly difficult for someone to sneak in a fake entry or, alter a record to hide something.
Like changing a test result.
Precisely. If a quality control test is logged as passed on the blockchain, you can't just go in later and make it look like it failed, or vice versa, without everyone seeing the attempt.
Okay, now I see the connection to safety. If someone did try to slip in a bad ingredient,
It would create a gap or an inconsistency in that otherwise unbroken, verified chain of records. The system would flag it.
so the immutability itself is a deterrent.
A very powerful one, yeah. Against introducing falsified materials. And think about if a problem does crop up, maybe a suspected contamination.
Uh-huh.
Having that detailed, unalterable blockchain record could mean a much, much faster and more precise investigation to find the source.
Right. You know exactly where that batch came from and where it went.
Exactly. And this ties right into all those critical quality control steps required by regulations, like 21 CFR Part 211 for finished drugs.
Yeah.
Blockchain gives you undeniable proof those steps happened and met the standards.
It sounds like that level of transparency would also be a massive help with just dealing with regulations, compliance,
Oh, absolutely.
keeping track of everything, proving you followed the rules. That must be a nightmare now sometimes.
It's a huge administrative load. Blockchain can really streamline that by providing this instantly available, auditable trail of all the crucial data.
Like for getting a new drug approved.
Yeah, think about that process. You need tons of documentation validating your analytical methods for impurities, linking specific drug batches to the safety studies, the clinical trials.
Right.
A blockchain system could securely hold all that information and make it easily accessible to regulators. Way more efficient, way more transparent.
And what about recalls? If
Mhm.
something goes wrong after it's on the market?
That's a huge potential benefit. Time is critical in a recall, right?
Oh, definitely.
Instead of potentially weeks of complex investigation trying to figure out which specific batches are affected and where they all went, a blockchain record could, in theory, provide that information almost instantly. You could target the recall much more effectively, protect public health faster.
And pinpoint where counterfeits might be entering the system too, presumably.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
If fakes show up, the blockchain could help trace back to where the legitimate supply chain might have been compromised, or at least show definitively what isn't part of the legitimate chain.
Okay, the benefits seem really compelling. Security, traceability, compliance. But implementing something this big across the entire global pharma industry, there have got to be some major challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're right. Widespread adoption isn't going to be a simple switch flip.
What are the main hurdles?
Well, one of the biggest is probably just integration. Getting this new blockchain technology to work smoothly with all the existing IT systems.
The old systems that companies and regulators already use.
Exactly. Many of those systems are complex, sometimes quite old, deeply embedded, making them talk to a new decentralized platform. That takes significant investment, careful planning, technical expertise. It's a big lift.
So it's not just plugging in a new piece of software, it's connecting everything up.
Precisely. And then you've got the sheer number of players involved. Manufacturers, suppliers, distributors, logistics companies, pharmacies, regulators.
A lot of different groups.
For blockchain to work really well, you'd likely need a high degree of collaboration across the whole industry. You need common standards.
Standards for what?
For how data is recorded, what information gets shared, how different systems interact on the platform, getting everyone to agree on those standards. That's a whole challenge in itself.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like getting everyone to agree on one universal charging cable, but way more complicated.
Kind of like that, yeah. And then there's just the scale, the sheer volume of data.
The global pharmaceutical industry must generate an unbelievable amount of data points.
Immense. Can the blockchain network actually handle processing and storing all those transactions efficiently without slowing down or becoming too expensive? Scalability is a definite technical question mark that needs solid answers.
Okay, so integration, standardization, scalability, significant hurdles. Not impossible, but not easy.
Definitely not easy, but the potential payoff is why people are working on it.
Right. Let's pivot slightly. We have these sources, like from Organic Process Research and Development, OPR&D. They go into intense detail about drug development, manufacturing processes, really meticulous stuff.
Yeah, OPR&D showcases incredibly detailed work.
Now, those papers don't talk about blockchain directly, but can we connect the dots? Does the kind of precision they describe highlight why blockchain could be so valuable?
Absolutely. That's a great connection to make. When you read those OPR&D articles, you see the painstaking effort, optimizing every reaction condition, finding the best additives, meticulously analyzing for tiny impurities.
Mm.
Blockchain could provide that immutable, unchangeable record of all that hard work. It ensures that the quality, the control, the specific conditions they work so hard to define, that it's maintained and, crucially, verifiable all the way down the supply chain.
So every carefully calibrated step, every test result, permanently documented and linked to that specific batch.
Exactly. It's like creating a secure digital birth certificate and lifetime diary for that batch of medicine.
And thinking about those impurities you mentioned, regulatory guidelines are super strict on identifying and quantifying those, right?
Extremely strict. You need validated analytical methods.
So blockchain could provide that rock-solid audit trail, proof that the right tests were done for that specific batch, showing its exact impurity profile.
Precisely. It adds this powerful layer of verifiable proof and accountability. You can link the final product right back to its detailed analytical chemistry record.
What about this concept of quality by design, QBD? We see that mentioned in sources on drug development. The idea is building quality in from the start.
Right, QPD is all about deeply understanding your manufacturing process, identifying the critical factors that impact quality, and then controlling them consistently.
So less about testing quality in it at the end and more about designing the process for quality.
Exactly. And blockchain is a fantastic enabler for QBD
How so?
because it can provide that transparent, verifiable record of all those critical process parameters throughout the entire manufacturing run. Every temperature, mixing speed, pH reading, every quality check, logged immutably.
Creating a complete process history.
A comprehensive, auditable process history. This visibility helps ensure consistency, supports continuous improvement, and really backs up the whole QBD philosophy.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. It seems blockchain offers this really compelling potential fix for some of the weak spots in traditional drug supply chains.
Yeah. It addresses key areas.
The immutability boosts security, makes it harder to sneak in fakes or substandard stuff.
Check.
The distributed ledger improves traceability, gives a clearer picture of the drug's whole journey.
Right, from start to finish.
And it could make regulatory compliance much smoother, more transparent, providing that solid audit trail.
Definitely has that potential.
Now, we know there are big hurdles implementation, getting everyone on board, making sure it can handle the scale.
Significant challenges, no doubt.
But the potential upside, making our medicines safer, ensuring their integrity, that seems really significant.
It really is. And what's key, I think, is the potential to create this shared trusted record, something that benefits everyone involved.
Manufacturers, distributors, regulators.
And ultimately patients, building that trust through transparency.
Absolutely. So as you've been listening, maybe think about that.
Hmm.
What would it feel like? What impact would complete transparency in where your medicine comes from have on your confidence?
Interesting question.
And how might this kind of tech change the game for pharmaceutical companies, for regulators, in ensuring quality down the line?
It shifts responsibilities, potentially. Makes things much more open.
And maybe think beyond pills and capsules. What other complex global supply chains out there could desperately use the kind of security and traceability that blockchain might offer? Food, electronics, it's definitely food for thought.
Definitely. A technology with potentially very wide-ranging impact.